Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football and pro wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week. If you could head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly, our weekly midweek pro wrestling show that we bring you, where we do previews, reviews, all the rest of it, talk about all the latest news, hot topics, everything around the world of pro wrestling. Was expecting Russ tonight, but I haven't heard from him. He might join us in a bit, and Darren said he might jump on as well, but haven't heard from either of them. So we'll go solo tonight. So I need you guys in the chat to make this show what it should be and stuff like that. So make sure you're jumping in and all that kind of stuff. Already joining me in there, Sean, all the way from France. Him, big up Niall and Russ. Good man, Sean. Hope you're having a good time over there in France, my friend. Hope the weather's better than what it's been here as well for you. And Daz is in as well. Big up, Daz. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us as well. So we got a real good show tonight for you folks. We're going to be talking about doing a review of Forbidden Door, which I was pretty happy with, to be honest. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot, and it was interesting. It was well laid out, all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into that as we talk through it. And we're going to be doing a preview for Money in the Bank, and we're going to be getting your predictions for that as well. And we have a load of other topics in there. We're going to be talking about Paul Heyman. No less. We have to talk about that from last Friday. What a show in MSG. SmackDown absolutely knocking it out of the park. We're going to be talking about Tony Khan, Shane O'Mac, and Mercedes Moné, an interesting meetup. We got to talk about Dijak and what's happened there. Interesting. We're going to be talking about is the Judgment Day unraveling what's going on there as well. We've seen the kind of face off between Balor and Priest, and Balor laying it on the line to Priest and stuff like that, how that's going to go. We're also going to be talking about which country has the best array of stars and stuff like that. So we have a little slide on that. And of course, we're also going to be asking you the question that was asked on Fox after Friday night. Do you acknowledge Solo Sikoa as your tribal chief? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. How do you feel it's developing? How do you feel it's expanding? How did you feel about Heyman and the attack and all that kind of stuff? I thought it was really, really cool. And I did say on last week's show when we had Russ on as well, I was talking about how it was really, really interesting. How Solo was beginning to develop and stuff like that and all. And we'll get into that as we go through the night as well. And you can let me know as well. But yeah, let me know what you think on those things. Just before we get into it, Daz, no, Russell Daz, haven't heard from him. I sent him the link on Twitter and all, but I haven't heard that. So he might be caught up. It's no biggie. We do this. We go solo here when we have to, don't we? Solo's a call tonight. LM is in. Well, no, I can't believe Money in the Bank is this weekend. Yeah, really looking forward to it. Card looks quality as well, I have to say. Real quality. We do have a preview coming up for you of Money in the Bank. Want to get your predictions later on in the show. And we also took a look at the betting to see what the betting is like. So see if your predictions agree with the betting. Acers is in. He absolutely is not acknowledging Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. Come on, Acers. Get on board with Solo. Let's go. But let's begin then. We'll begin with our Forbidden Door. Let's chat about Forbidden Door. Overall, give us your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of the show? What was your highlights? Was there any lowlights? All that kind of stuff. I think Jack last week pretty much predicted Jack Perry would take the ladder match. I don't think there was any strange result in that. But I have to say, a lot of the matches were of a very high quality. I like the way the card was laid out. I know, again, it was over 4 hours, 10 matches. So there was a lot in it as well. Eno's in as well. What's the crack, Niall? Everyone in the chat, always a pleasure. Big up. Always great to have you on board, my friend. Ladder match was absolutely fantastic. It was, wasn't it? It really, really was. I think, Acers, what did you think of the structure of the show? I thought the structure of the show was fantastic this time because you know the way you kind of get that kickoff bit. And then you get those middle, say, 4 matches, maybe even 5, that kind of feel like they belong on Dynamite or Collision. And you're wondering why they're there. Remember we spoke about how Dynasty was a long card and stuff like that, but it was really really good and it was a high quality. And then we went into Double or Nothing and it was back to the same kind of crap again, really disjointed all over the place and really hard to sit down and enjoy and invest 4 hours. As I said with that one, I had to break it up a number of times and maybe take in an hour here, an hour there to get through it. Really, it was tough. But this one fully enjoyed. Again, I broke it up because again it's long, this 4 hours and stuff like that. Sometimes I only have an hour here or there to invest in it and stuff like that. I thought Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy was really, really good. No less than I would expect from Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange Cassidy. Such technical wrestling and all that kind of stuff. The Owen Hart Cup is shaping up nicely as well, and we will give her, interest in Jeff Jarrett in there now. Could they be about to pull the trigger? Will Jeff Jarrett win the Owen Hart Cup? And how fitting that would be, and what a story that would be. When we talk about Cody finishing the story and all and stuff like that, what about if Jeff Jarrett was to win the Owen Hart Cup? That would be something very special. Probably would feel more to me, maybe not so. Maybe you guys are different on this. If it was kind of WWE, but we know why it's not WWE and all that kind of stuff, and that's just the way it is. But I think it would be quite an emotional evening if Jeff Jarrett was able to do that. I thought Khan always delivers on pay-per-view compared to weekly television. Yeah, but this one just felt like there was good structure to it and there was good flow. Evening, bro. What's a crack? Big up, Baz. How are you? Crack today, of course, as always. Acers, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Oh my god. Absolutely. I thought it was just it's mad when you look at these two guys and the way they operate and how they put things together and stuff like that and all. And it's like the chemistry just kicks, doesn't it? It's really, really impressive and stuff like that and all. So, but we run down through it. MJF, of course, defeated Chichero, got the card off to a start, as they say, which is interesting. Of course, MJF, of course, being out injured for a while and stuff like that, and we know like he left kind of at the top of AEW, comes back in. It's like he's going to have to work his way back up there again, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but good to see him in there. I think the wild card is Hangman. Yeah, potentially could be all right. Adam Hangman Page is winning Owen Hart Cup. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I think the Jarrett one would be nice. I think Hangman will be the wild card against Jeff Jarrett. I would love to see Jeff Jarrett come through that. How do you feel about it, folks? Do you have a preference for who wins it? Would you like to see Jarrett win it? Can't take this new bootleg Bloodline series too comical. Don't know. Wasn't too comical there the other night. Now it was fairly serious the other night. Now and put out Paul Heyman through the table and stuff. But we'll come back to it. Will Ospreay, MJF, all in Wembley. Interesting. I wouldn't be too upset with that now, I'll tell you. Interesting. But let's talk about it. The Elite versus defeated the Acclaim and Tanahashi again. Solid. Bryan Danielson versus Takagi. Unbelievable. Tony Storm again building all the time against Mina Shirakawa. AEW Women's World Championship defeated her. Zack Sabre Jr. as I said, Orange Cassidy, Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata defeating Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith. Interesting match to say the least. As we said on the top there, Jack Perry wins the TNT title ladder match, which was going interesting. Of course, going into this show, of course, there was a lot of talk about how New Japan weren't necessarily overly happy with the relationship, that they felt that they were kind of it wasn't being profiled enough. New Japan wasn't really getting that rub off the AEW relationship, stuff like that. Hence, we went into Mercedes Moné defeated Stephanie Vaquer for the New Japan Strong Women's title, of course, TNT title on the line as well there. Really, really interesting. But I think with Mercedes Moné, because she has such a relationship with New Japan, and obviously a lot of her wrestling was over there prior to signing with AEW, I think it's good profiling in terms of putting the title there. A lot of boos in this match and stuff like that as well that she wasn't overly appreciative about. But interesting to say the least. Naito versus John Moxley was the one that was interesting. This was the one we were going to watch to see, how happy was New Japan in this, and of course Naito to picking up the win, taking the IWGP World Championship back to New Japan, which I think probably needed to happen anyway. I don't think that really went as we had expected. Um, uh, but and then we finished up. What a main event! Swerve Strickland defeated Will Ospreay, AW World Championship. I think Jack is in there. Big up, Jack. Not a problem at all, pal. Enjoy your night out, pal. And I was just bigging you up there, saying that you had predicted Jack Perry to win the ladder match, and again, you didn't think Will Ospreay would take Swerve out as well. Not a problem at all, pal. Anytime. Catch you next week. Enjoy your night. Um, Pre-show Acers, I didn't catch, so I may go back and look at it if you're telling me it's that good. Big up Russell from Daz. And what the fuck is an MFT? What's an MFT? I don't know what MFT is. But yeah, really, really impressive. I like the way, as I said, the card was really well structured. I was able to sit down. It was quite enjoyable match to match. I didn't feel like I had to get to the last 3 or 4 matches and stuff like that. I was interested in what was there. And I very much do like the concept of the Forbidden Door show in terms of this crossover where you get an influx of talent elsewhere. And I think that's something that could be developed on. And I think we've seen it as well with WWE, with TNA and NXT and all that kind of stuff, and the way that worked really well as well. So I think it's something that they should take note of, and something that probably, both promotions should do more of, I think, anyway. So, but altogether, solid show. Really enjoyed it. So when we move on to the next one, please don't let me down. Please don't let me down. Try and keep a bit of momentum there and stuff like that. Trying to keep it solid. They are still suffering in the TV ratings. I was looking at Cornette's show today on it, and the ratings are still, they still seem to sink at certain points in the show and stuff like that, and all that's identifiable by the quarters and stuff like that. So that's something they'll need to work on and address and stuff like that. Obviously, Britt Baker's return was huge as well. Britt Baker coming out at the end of Mercedes Moné's match, so we know where we're going with that one, and I really, really look forward to that. This is 2 girls really at the top of the game. Obviously, Britt Baker coming back from injury and stuff like that, but it could be really, really interesting. A program between her and Mercedes Moné, I think, would be huge and very, very enjoyable. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. Really, really good. Solid pay-per-view. As I said, nothing to complain about. I thought Strickland versus Ospreay was brilliant. I really liked Ospreay coming out as well in the Hayabusa gear, given that tick to Hayabusa, of course, which was really, really cool. Ring gear was absolutely amazing. And that moment at the end as well, where they both have that moment in the ring, I thought was really, really, really good. Now, do you think Uncle Howdy turns up on Saturday? I tell you one thing, Daz. I tell you now, and if you can ask Baz in the chat, asking me about Uncle Howdy and the way it's 6 at the moment is a tender subject, because it's just, again, we're kind of 3 weeks into them being on the screen. We've had 8 weeks of teasing them arriving and all that kind of stuff. And I still am failing to understand where they fit into the product. I really do not understand where they fit into the product. I don't know how they're going to book them. I don't know what way it's going to go. I just don't get it. And especially at the moment when you look at WWE and they're pushing towards this kind of, pro wrestling is back, baby, pro wrestling show, long-term storytelling, all this kind of stuff, but solid kind of stuff that you can buy into it. And then in the middle of that, you get this kind of horror show. You know what I mean? And it's kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's really, really weird. So I'm not too sure. I really don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if Uncle Howdy shows up at Money in the Bank. I don't know what it would serve, really. You know what I mean? Because there's so much stuff, and we're going to get into talking about it. There's so much stuff about Money in the Bank that we could talk about, and there's so much they could put out there, to the point where they have too much in their hands, really, to offer us at the moment in Money in the Bank. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. Acers. New Japan and AEW has announced that after Wrestle Kingdom 19 on the 4th of January, New Japan and AEW versus Triple A Wrestling Destiny. Tell you, this is the way. It's like they're circling, aren't they? They're circling. But it'll certainly be interesting. That sounds really good. That should be exciting with Triple A as well. I held a baby goat today. It was gas. A random comment of the night. Sean wins. The teasing is only half the fun. It is, but how are they going to book it? What do they do? Did you see the Creed brothers are going to be on at Bloodsport this month? Should be class. Yeah, saying that all right. Yeah, that should be interesting. All right. I'll give Forbidden Door 7 out of 10 this year. Yeah, I would have pushed it a little bit higher, but I can see that, yeah, 7 out of 10. But there was some really good stuff in there. I mean, they were talking Strickland versus Osprey, potential match of the years of that, and I know they throw that out there at times, but even if you don't like it, go look at the highlights. There's things in there. There's a lot to like about it. Look, when it's not good, we come out, we say it's not good. So when it is good, we have to come out and we have to give it its props. You can't be always totally negative about it. Keith, what's up, Noel? How good was Jacob Fatu entrance on SmackDown? Looks like they will be pushing this guy straight off the bat. It was never going to be any other way. Uh, MIA big time, pal, up to my boobs. As always, Morris, I know I've been following your stuff and all that kind of stuff, and I know I can just only imagine what you're taking on all this extra stuff now. And again, congratulations on the election and stuff like that, and also, but no doubt we will touch base, pal. No doubt. Been watching some of the stuff and all and stuff like that. So keep it rocking. Make sure, folks, you're over there. Cheap Productions podcast. Make sure you're following it. Still lots of quality stuff going up there. This man, burning the candle, both ends, doing work in plenty of different areas. Sean, it was tough one to stay up here. I'm an hour ahead here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a tough one. Yeah, but look, do what I do. You don't necessarily have to sit through. You can take it in sections. Take it in sections and come back to it. What's the crack, Morris? Oh, good Daz. Right, this was an interesting one. I heard Simon Cowell during the week there on a podcast, and he was talking about this album. This was apparently, and I didn't realize this was one of Simon Cowell's first albums that he produced, a wrestling one. And he was talking about it. We're going all the way back to 1992 here, folks, as far as I know. And he was talking about how this album was quite significant in his career, that this was the album that put him on the map, which was very, very interesting to hear. And I didn't really know this story now, to be honest. But he said that when he wanted to produce this album, he got a lot of kickback from Arista at the time, as far as I know it was. And a lot of the high-ups in Arista and all were laughing at the idea and stuff like this. And of course, the album went on to have massive success and all, because so you can imagine 1992, wrestling was at such a hype and this kind of thing and stuff. So it was nice to hear him talking about it on a podcast, that he said one of the most important albums he produced in his career was this album, the World Wrestling Federation Superstars WrestleMania, the album. So it was cool to kind of hear it and stuff like that. And it's interesting when you hear about these things, don't you, from mainstream, and how important and how significant some of these things can be in someone's career. But he said he had a lot of head-to-heads with the high-ups in Arista about doing this album, and they frowned upon it and stuff like that. And but he believed in it and stuff like that. So I thought I'd put it in there, a nice little story and stuff like that. Again, folks, now that some of you are in the chat, we're asking you tonight as well, do you acknowledge, based on Friday and moving forward, how Solo is developing, do you acknowledge now Solo Sikoa as your tribal chief? Yes or no? Yes or no? Very simple. Let me get back into the comments. When is Money in the Bank? This Saturday. 3 days away. 3 days away. Can't wait. Watching it with my brother. I fell asleep during Monday. He was snoring after the opener. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Folks, just enjoy all the wrestling. Keep it all positive. LM this Sunday. Sunday for us, yeah. Sunday morning, Saturday night though. Was this ever made on CD? Might need to have a look at it. I'm not too sure whether it was. I'm not too sure. I know there was as far as I know, there's a VHS, and I think there's a cassette, and they probably did a vinyl. But I said the vinyl will be worth a few quid now if you could find it. Saturday, 11 o'clock. There you go. Big up, Daz. Psycho Studio says more than one royal family. There you go. The WrestleMania song is a legit bop, though. It is. It is indeed. Sean, I was actually looking at clips from the Limp Bizkit concert that you went to up in Belfast. I have to say, I was jealous. I was sorry I didn't go after looking at the clips and stuff like that. The crowd were mental for it and all stuff, and he was unbelievable, wasn't he? I think so. Yeah, I definitely feels he's rootless now after what they did to Paul A. Yeah, you kind of have to buy into it now, don't you? Really? At Keith Siri, midnight on Saturday. There you go. Saturday night for us into Sunday morning. Paying the price. We had our backlash. We had our king and queen of the ring. So there you go. So now we got to pay the price and we got to stay up. Go to YouTube Music. There you go. Keith, no, I've seen Solo as a main event guy as my skills are weak and he doesn't. No, I've seen Solo as a main event guy as my skills are weak and he doesn't come across as a natural leader like Roman. I don't know. I don't know. I've seen in the last few weeks, and I said it to Russ last week as well. I've seen in the last few weeks, I think he has plenty of development going on at the moment, and I think it could be pretty impressive, if I'm to be honest. So there's a lot coming there. So I don't know. I think there could be something in there. Whoa, WrestleMania. Brilliant, brilliant. Here we go. Right, let's talk. Let's talk Money in the Bank, folks. Drop your predictions in there. Where way do you see this going? Stacked card. Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins returning kind of a little bit out of the blue. Came back, thrust right into this and stuff like that. Again, kind of feel a little bit with Priest's kind of feel a lot with a lot of the titles at the moment post WrestleMania. There's just a lot of kind of box ticking in terms of matches and stuff like that, with not any real kind of, there's no real meat on the bone to them, if you like, and stuff like that, you know. But this one should be interesting because it is on Money in the Bank and stuff like that, and this will be the final match, I would imagine, which would leave open the opportunity to potentially interference or a cash in or whatever way it's going to go. My thinking on this is, well, I suppose we'll come back to my thinking on that because I want to go through the rest of the card first to get it all to make sense. They did do a song called Slam Jam. They did. It's actually on it. It's listed on it, isn't it? Where is it? As far as I know, they did one. It's listed on it. Yeah, there it is. It's the second one down, Daz. Second song down, Slam Jam. There you go. There you go. How could we forget? How could we forget? Biscuit was one of the best gigs I've ever gone to. So much violence and insanity, yet also so much fun. Love to. Crazy. Although I think it would be more accessible for us to go to if it was in Dublin. Yeah, absolutely. Set to win the title, Daz, out of the block, set to win the title. Are we expecting any shenanigans? Don't if necessarily acknowledge Solo yet, but that angle was fired out. It really was, wasn't it? It really was. Priest will win. He will lose the title at SummerSlam. Interesting. Yeah, so let's go down through it then. The six man, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. What are we thinking on that? What are we thinking on that one? I'm gonna go as Fred Durst for Halloween this year. Quality. Mad. I don't know. I suppose that the hot favourite on this, actually, I should have given you the betting, of course. The World Heavyweight Championship at the moment, Damian Priest is the hot favourite at minus 250. This is the American betting as well, by the way, folks. Seth Rollins at the moment is a plus 170. So Damian Priest, hot favourite to retain. Maybe not necessarily hot favourite to leave the building with the belt, but hot favourite to retain. The Bloodline, of course, strong favourites to win this six man at minus 450. Rhodes, Orton, and Owens, of course, plus 275. I don't know. I'm interested to see what way this is going to go in terms of, we've seen Orton eyeballing the belt. So there could be a shout there. There could be a shout there, as Daz says, Cody, Randy, and Kevin to win. And then does Randy just hit Cody with an RKO out of nowhere setting up a match. Could that happen? We've seen Randy Orton in recent weeks. We highlighted it on the show here 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was, about his focus on the actual the belt. And we know when you're a snake and you're a viper, you don't really change. So could we see it coming? He's not happy with the elite, and he also can't stand the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's never going to be retired. Never. It's great. Love this pay-per-view. One of my favourites of the year. Right, I think I'm going to go for... I think with the momentum, you'd expect the Bloodline to win, wouldn't you? Unless there's going to be shenanigans. Maybe at the end of it, you could get shenanigans where, you know, Cody is blaming Randy for the loss or something like that. Then Randy hits him with the RKO and then just walks out and leaves it there for us. Possibly. Let's see what happens. Could be interesting. My guess is the Bloodline win. They got to keep the momentum going, don't they? Really got to keep the momentum going. But it's going to be really interesting to see how these three boys match up. And no doubt, could see Zila as well. Could show up as well. So who knows? Bloodline to win to keep them strong leading up to Roman return. That's what I would think. And also it'd be interesting to see, could they lay down more of that Randy groundwork in terms of the belt. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is the favourite at minus 130. Sami Zayn minus 110. So Breaker is the favourite here. Are we going to get Breaker? Is Breaker going to pick up the IC belt in Toronto against Sami Zayn? Would we expect that to happen? And if we don't expect it to happen, how is it going to pan out? I'm all in on Braun Breaker, I have to say. I really am. I think he's impressive. LM think Seth should win the title, then drop it the next month to Gunther at SummerSlam. I don't know. Do we want the belt getting dropped like that? Do we want this flip flopping? I'm not too sure. But see, if I was going to do that now, if I was going to book that, what I'd be doing is I would have booked Gunther into the Money in the Bank match. And what I would have done was I would have booked Gunther to if Seth's going to win the belt, get Gunther to cash in on the night. So then, yeah, you can get the double drop, but it doesn't feel like it's just flip-flopping the belt around. Daz reckons Sami will retain. Anyone else in on Sami, or do we reckon Braun? Keith's in. Braun to win it easily. If not, it will be a DQ, so it doesn't affect Braun from getting pinned. Interesting. Braun the box breaker, yeah, absolutely. Then we have the Money in the Bank ladder match. Jey Uso. Now, this is interesting because this has changed a lot. Because originally this had Jey Uso written all over it. We seen all the stuff. You can see the logo in the corner there, the yeet and all that kind of stuff. So it was looking like this was nailed on for Jey Uso. I think the real change is with Drew McIntyre going in there. And I called it last week that Drew McIntyre would be in the Money in the Bank match. We also called Tiffany Stratton, I think, as well. And we'll talk about the women's one as well shortly. My man is back from holidays. Hope you had a great time, my friend. Got to get together and do a Shankly session over the next number of days and stuff. What is up, my brother? Don't think Seth wins. I see some sort of Balor Priest feud for the title. Interesting. Not a bad show. We will be talking about those cracks forming in the Judgment Day. That's for sure. What are we thinking? Who are we going for? Money in the Bank. Who's going to win it? Does Drew win it and cash in? The betting at the moment has changed greatly. If you look at it at the moment where it men's, Drew McIntyre is now the favourite to win the Money in the Bank. Andrade is second. LA Knight is third. Gable is fourth. Jey Uso is fifth. And Carmelo Hayes at a plus 6,000 is the rank outsider. How do we feel how this is going to go? CM Punk will screw over. Sorry, I skipped one there. Dino, think Sami wins via DQ and Braun wins it on Raw the following night. That wouldn't upset me. So we're keeping the Canadian thing solid, are we? We don't want the Toronto screw job, do we not? That Toronto screw job. I don't mind dropping the belt to Shawn Michaels. I just ain't doing it in Canada. Yeah, is that the Sami Zayn feel we're feeling about this intercontinental match? I ain't dropping the belt in Canada. I don't care. Here we go. Keith's in. CM Punk will screw over Drew. I wouldn't be too upset with that. A lot of talk out there as well about AJ Lee potentially showing up and stuff like that and all, but there's loads of stuff going around. LM reckons Chad or Carmelo. Chad or Carmelo to win the Money in the Bank. That'd be unbelievable for Carmelo Hayes. Not undeserving, but it'd be unbelievable. Certainly that would be a bolt and a shot out of nowhere. And speaking of those guys that came up, we're going to have a little chat shortly about Dijak as well, so savour that as well. I think Punk screws Drew, but now you've said it, Drew winning and cashing in makes sense. Could do. Yeah, absolutely. So we still got this bracelet out there, don't we, Larry and AJ on the bracelet and stuff like that and all. Bracelet's still floating around. Jay, my heart says, the rest of me says Drew. There you go. There was a lot of people saying Drew with their heart, weren't they? A Clash at the Castle. There you go. Interesting. How far do you think this Drew Punk storyline will go? Could go all the way to Mania next year, and why not? It's very, very enjoyable. And no reason to halt it, no reason to kill it off, no reason to stop it at SummerSlam, and let it get real personal. Let it get real personal. I'd have him kidnapping the dog and everything. Let it get out there. Go crazy with it. Push it right out there. Flip that PG on its head and go absolutely crazy. These two boys are awesome. Way too soon for Carmelo. I think Chad will be targeted by the Wyatt 6 and leave him laid out. So then, are you thinking, Dino, does he even make the match or do we get a substitute into the match? Imagine Chad gets laid out by the Wyatt 6. And imagine CM Punk ends up in the match. Although, interesting. Although I'm not sure whether Punk wants to come back to a Money in the Bank ladder match coming back off that injury. But let's see. That will be kind of interesting. You got me thinking now, Dino. I like that a lot. Do you think Drew Punk could happen at SummerSlam? It could easily happen at SummerSlam. But I get the feeling in the way that they've been screwing each other over, I think we're going to get a number of matches as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this runs like a best of 5 series or something like that. Remember like what they did back in the day with Booker. Who knows? Should be interesting, but certainly it brings a level of realism to it, doesn't it? So it's interesting. So Money in the Bank, I think I'm going to go for Drew to win, but I think it could potentially be interference by Punk and a failed cash in. I don't imagine Drew McIntyre walking around with a briefcase for the next 3 to 4 months. And I don't know how the briefcase would fit into the Punk kind of storyline and stuff that's going on as well. But be interesting to see. We're going to stay glued to it. But isn't this brilliant like that? We're in the week of this pay-per-view and we still can't figure out all the different permutations of what may or may not happen and stuff like that. That's what makes wrestling so interesting these days. The women's one, Io Sky versus Chelsea Green versus Lyra Valkyria versus Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton versus Zoe Stark. What are we thinking, folks, for the women's one? Where are we with the women's Money in the Bank match? If you look at the betting at the moment, Tiffany Stratton is the hot favourite. Zoe Stark is next. Lyra Valkyria is next. Io Sky, Chelsea Green, and Naomi are the outsiders. There was talk originally of Chelsea Green could potentially be the winner. I don't see that being the case. For me, I would love to see Lyra Valkyria winner. I predicted that she could potentially win it because she's on this rise at the moment. And I predicted that she would win the elimination match to get into it and stuff like that as well. But it's probably Tiffany time, isn't it? It's probably Tiffany time at this stage. Let me know your thoughts on it and stuff like that. But my guess is Tiffany Stratton to win the women's title. So let me know your thoughts. Dino, possible to substitute, very interesting. Maybe Otis. Everything is so open. That's why we are so in love with wrestling again, because so many things are possible. I'm buzzing. Absolutely. Otis is a great shout, by the way. Great shout. And Keith, it would be a great way to end the storyline by having Punk versus Drew in a Hell in a Cell match, the way Hell in a Cell would use to end the storyline, or maybe 3 stages of house. Did you remember Punk's interview after the pay-per-view, after Clash of the Castle? Didn't he do a presser? And your mum was talking about a Hell in a Cell. And he turned around and he slagged him off. He says, That's why you're out there and you don't book wrestling in this kind of thing. So, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, not a shout. Money in the Bank, no comment. You don't like it, you don't like it. Tune into the football then tomorrow or something if you're not liking it. Is the Rock's daughter in the women's one? No. No. We've got EO Sky, got Chelsea Green, Zoe Stark, Tiffany Stratton, Lyra Valkyria, and Naomi. That's it. ASOS is in. Either Tiffany or Chelsea are winning the women's briefcase. What's your preference, ASOS, though? Who do you want to win it? Who do you want to win it? Not who may win it. Who do you want to win it? So that's it. So break it down then. I think Damian Priest will leave still as champion, but I think there'll be some sort of angle in that to protect Seth Rollins in terms of going for the belt again, unless they're pushing Seth towards the WWE Undisputed Championship, and we have that storyline there that's already embedded in our memories. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, of course, could go that route as well. So there's so many options there. Let's see what happens. I think the Bloodline probably win, but we could get a turn from Randy Orton pushing himself towards Cody Rhodes. Braun Breaker, I think Braun might win. I think people are not expecting Sami to lose in Toronto, but I think Braun is just a machine at the moment. Like, I mean, how many Aluva kicks is Sami Zayn going to have to hit Braun Breaker to put him out? It's going to be a lot. And then I think Drew McIntyre, is going to win the case. I don't think he's going to get screwed in the Money in the Bank match. I don't think it's high profile enough. I think what they'll do is they might screw him on the cash in later in the show, potentially. And then I think Tiffany Stratton takes the women's Money in the Bank. That's my roundup for it. Where are we? Acers. Drew McIntyre, Money in the Bank briefcase. Yeah, good show. Dino, Rockstars in the trans one when everyone's left. EO to win, cash in on Becky. Cash in on Becky. EO to win and cash in on Becky. Oh, you're talking about way down the line then, are you? Talking. You mean cash in on Bailey? Cash in on Bailey, I presume you meant there. Yeah, absolutely. I want Tiffany, but because it's in Toronto, Chelsea will win because Triple H wants to keep the crowd happy. Oh no. Do you think Triple H has an affection for keeping a Canadian crowd happy with his history? That's a stretch, Acers, isn't it? No way. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking Braun Breaker? Yeah, you're thinking Braun Breaker takes the IC, so that totally upsets Toronto straight away. And then you think they bring them back around again by giving Chelsea the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't know. I think Triple H might want to push that needle in that bit further, by not doing that. But let's see what happens. But that's interesting. But I don't think Triple H wants to keep any crowd in Canada happy. Let's be honest there. Especially with all the talk coming out at the moment. We will talk about Larry. Of course, it's Brett's birthday this week as well. He's featured in our history section. Another prediction. Drew wins the Money in the Bank, but he cashes in later that night, and Punk costs him the title shot when he cashes in. Yeah, that's kind of the flow, isn't it? Yeah, it definitely does. I knew you meant Bailey. Yeah, Bailey. Absolutely, yeah. What have we made, folks? What have we made of Bailey's title run? How do we feel about it? It's kind of like it's box ticking as well, isn't it? It's box ticking as well. There hasn't been that in a real interest. Let me know what you think. Chelsea would be comedy gold with the briefcase. She would, but like the briefcase generally has to lead to the title, doesn't it? Then what? Then what? Are we getting Carmelo feels out of this then? How that went? I don't know. But there you go. That's your Money in the Bank preview. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll round it up next week and see what happened and see how right or how wrong we all were. We could be miles off. The Wyatt Six could come out and just destroy the whole show and turn it into a new Boneyard match or something. Wreck the place. Let's see what happens. Bailey isn't losing title until SummerSlam. Fair enough. Right, let's talk about this. This was posted the other day on Twitter, and I thought it'd be really cool to ask you guys in the chat. I'd be biased, of course, on this. Top of the top level up there, of course, all the Irish. Really, really strong contingent. Really loved Seamus the other day. I don't know if you've seen the video of him jumping out of that Tesla Cyber truck, banger after banger, let's go, bitches, and all this kind of thing. Seamus is one that's going to do really well from this move to Netflix, isn't he? Because he can bring out all the Irish slang and all now and not give a toss. It's going to be really cool. But the question was deemed there: which country do you think has the strongest profile in there at the moment in terms of the collection of people and stuff like that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Of course, I'm biased, so I'm taking the top row, Ireland for me. But let me know what you think. But it's nice to see the spread of what they have there and everything and all. And it just goes to show, when you look at a slide like this, you realise just how global WWE is as a brand and a company and everything else and all, you know. I think Damian Priest versus Demon at SummerSlam. The Demon. Yeah, no. I think our days of the Demon might be gone. I think they might be gone. I think the AEW could be Shane wildcard, I think. Could be. Could be. Interesting. We will talk about that in a minute because there was a little conversation had. Daz is going with the British. The British, I think. British. Not a bad lineup. Not a bad lineup at all. Not a bad lineup. Kenny's in. Big up Kenny. All right, Niall, lad. That UK one is just a bunch of jobbers. Ireland for the win there. Yup, the boys. Come on, Ireland. There you go. Acers is going with Mexico. He's going with volume over quality. There you go. Dom's in there. The whole lot. El Japan doesn't get a vote at all, does it? Keith's going Irish for me. We're all boys. Some of us on here are boys. You know, Irish for me. I think that Irish lineup is quality, isn't it? You got a bit of everything in there, don't you? And a really solid pairing with the two girls as well. So, yeah. A Paul Heyman return in a few weeks can only mean something big was going to happen. But we're going to get your thoughts on that shortly. But I thought I'd put this up there. But very interesting to see the breakdown by country and how it's how WWE is represented around the world. And there you go. And from a small little Ireland here with a population of about 5 million, to have that level of quality in there, WWE at the highest level of professional wrestling, is a statement to the country and a statement to the promotions around the country who have done a stellar job affording the pathway for these people to do these things, and a lot more to come as well. Some brilliant talent still out there, still to be seen by a lot of people. So let's see what happens. Right, what are we going to talk about? Dijak. Let's talk about Dijak. What was your thinking on this? This guy is not happy at all, and rightly so. Releasing the look of his contract there and all that kind of stuff. Got released, bumped up from NXT, not seen, not used, and out the door. What you thinking on this? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. And I seen a post from him there. I think it was yesterday. I seen a post where he was asked to go on to Saturday night's main event. Main event, not Saturday night's main event. And he said he found it insulting. So there's obviously been a head-to-head between himself and creative, and whatever his creative direction was, which I thought was kind of weird, because I thought during the draft lottery and stuff like that and all, he was one of the bigger ones to come up, and I thought they would have had a big plan for this guy. Fantastic look and all that kind of stuff and all, but didn't pan out. Andrew's in the chat. Can't wait for Saturday. I can see Damien losing the belt and Randy turning on Cody. My man. That's what we've just been talking about. Brilliant. TNA debut very soon. Yeah, absolutely. But it was just a weird one, you know. And I kind of felt like sometimes I don't feel for wrestlers when they get released and stuff like that, because I find sometimes they bring a lot of it on themselves and stuff like that. And obviously we don't know the inside track on this one fully and stuff like that. But a lot of what's coming out, kind of got to feel for this guy a little bit, you know what I mean? He was a little bit, dare I say, maybe sold a bit of a bum deal, as they say. Sold a bit of a bum deal. It's that Dazzler. Dazzler wishes his beard was that good. Wishes. Like all of us. Wish it was. Wish it was. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring this up. This is the would he go to AEW? I'm sure he'd go to AEW on a heartbeat. Just to stick it. This is a guy. TNA is kind of a weird move as well, Ace, just because of the relationship. You know, obviously going to TNA, obviously under that TKO umbrella now. Maybe AEW. I know he had signed. He's gone back to. Isn't he wrestling this weekend or this week? Tomorrow, July 4th, I think. He's wrestling an independence show, and I think it's his original promotion he was at or something like that, from what I believe. So interesting to see. Coolio will debut at Money in the Bank, costing Cody Rhodes the victory, and have Solo pinning Cody Rhodes, setting up SummerSlam match. Interesting. Yeah, we're getting a flood of it now, aren't we? This is the one we've been talking about. Shane O'Mac, we've been talking about for a few weeks after JR mentioned it in his podcast, kind of put it out there. We had varying thoughts about it, whether we think it would sit, whether it would work, whether it would even happen, how would it come together. Tony Khan making the point, there goes the money, he making the point that, yeah, he wouldn't have a problem exploring it and stuff like that, and he'd be very interested in it. Then we heard that they were spotted, according to one of the wrestling Twitter pages out there. Apparently Mercedes Moné and Shane O'Mac were spotted walking down to a gate in LaGuardia Airport in New York, having a deep conversation, all the way down to their respective gates. Wonder what they were talking about. Were they potentially reaching out and potentially pursuing the opportunity or the potential for this to happen and what it would look like and stuff like that? Or was it just a general catch-up conversation because they hadn't seen each other probably in a while, or doubt it that was that? So be interesting to see how this develops, but there seems to be a little bit behind it and a small sprinkling of momentum maybe, so it could happen. How it actually pans out and works and how it will come together will be certainly very, very interesting to see. TNA to become the fourth brand of WWE. Could easily. Keith, anyone who leaves WWE and goes to AEW, you know their careers are done. Tony can't book or push a wrestler to save his life. Just paid him a lot of money though. 10 million Mercedes Moné. Talk of 15 million for MJF. Interesting. I now own AEW. WWE are doing NXT Super Bowl pay-per-view in September to combat AEW All-Out pay-per-view on the same weekend. Interesting. What did you make of this, folks? This came out during the week there as well. There was talk of, what a wonderful job they do down there on NXT and how they develop stars. But the talk was a lot of these guys, and I have to say, bit of finger pointing this week happened to Triple H in terms of NXT talent that he's bringing up. Are they being let down a little bit? Are they being brought up and used in the right way? Obviously, some of these guys have been up for a while now and stuff like that. But you look at, I have to say, I'm really enjoying the Ciampa Gargano kind of little series of getting an RKO in on Randy, which I just find absolutely fucking hilarious. It's brilliant. But what you make the likes of Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate and others, not really hitting the straps that you would expect and not being used the way, you talk about Ricochet now, potentially we're going to talk about Ricochet, his profile being moved to the alumni section now in WWE. So is that kind of kayfabe? Is a storyline? Is it legit? Is he actually gone? Where's he going? Is he going to go to AEW? If he goes to AEW, where does that leave Samantha Irwin and all that kind of stuff? And the connections that are there, who knows? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. It's Triple H at the moment for everything he's doing that's brilliant at the minute, and there's no doubt he's knocking it out of the park in so many other areas. But are the NXT talent that's coming up, is he able to find a place for them and stuff like that? Are they really being, when you look at how good Ciampa and Gargano are, and obviously Dunne and Tyler Bate, who we know from these shores and from OTT and stuff like that as well, talent there, not really hitting its straps the way it should. And then obviously Cameron Grimes, Dijak and Ricochet, and obviously Dijak's exit from WWE in the last week has obviously raised this as a conversational piece. Certainly, it wasn't something I was overly thinking about at the time, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought I'd just bring it up. And everyone knows I'm a huge Triple H fan and always have been, so it's not necessarily coming from a wrong position and stuff like that. Kenny, I'm not sure what Shane brings to AEW. Be a lot of clashes of personality over there. Think it will cause more problems. Maybe. Interesting. Interesting. It's just weird, isn't it? It's weird with pro wrestling. Feels weird not having a McMahon. You know, that kind of way. It just feels weird in whatever guys. At Aces, when is Blood and Guts? October 5th in Atlanta. There you go. AEW Blood and Guts is AEW Dynamite. AEW Blood and Guts is AEW Dynamite 7 in July. Invasion 2.0. There we go. Invasion 2.0. Right. What are you going to do with this man? Paul Heyman. Let's go back to last Friday. This man looked disheveled. Apparently there was talk he hadn't slept in 2 days to get him into this position to look this way. He didn't shave. Practically looked homeless. And then he turns on Solo. He couldn't recognize Solo as the tribal chief. And then what transpired, Solo hitting him, taking him down, and they brought him out and they put him through the announcer's table. So the wise man, R.I.P. to the wise man Paul Heyman. But what's going to happen now? As we say, the phoenix sometimes rises from the ashes. MSG last week, I have to say, folks, it really is the home of professional wrestling. And the New York crowd are just phenomenal. I've been there a number of times, MSG. Was there with Dino for the G1 and stuff like that, the G1 climax and all that kind of stuff, and it was unbelievable. And wrestling in MSG is just it's different gravy really when you experience it and stuff like that. But yeah, phenomenal, and they knocked it out of the park as well. But what way do you think this is going to go? We're going to go back. Are we going to roll it back? Are we going to get Bloodline reforming? We're going to get Roman back, the Usos, maybe one of the other brothers, the newer guys coming in and stuff like that. Zila or something might come in. What way is this going to go? Or could we get the Heyman family? Could we roll it back like the Bobby, the Heenan family? Could we get Lesnar in there, Punk and Roman? Obviously, Lesnar hasn't been around for a while with all this other issues and stuff that came out. Obviously, Punk is kind of wrapped up in the Drew McIntyre situation and stuff. But what way do you think it's going to go? Do you think we're going to get a Bloodline Originals returning and going up against Solo and the boys? Or would Paul Heyman want to go deeper in that being so disrespected? Is he going to bring back Brock Lesnar? And could he potentially slide Punk in there and form a Heyman stable, roll back the years like the Heenan family? Let me know your thoughts on it. What do you think? Keith, Triple H is doing absolutely amazing, but he has failed on a few wrestlers. But even when Vince was in his prime, he did the same thing. So you can't always get everything right. Absolutely, 100%. The garden pop was absolutely insane, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Just, and I seen some of the camera footage that was up there on TikTok and on Twitter where they're going up the steps and then they just look out over the garden and it's just people are just going mental. And hats off. New Yorkers are great that way, aren't they? Hats off to New York wrestling fans and stuff like that. They are insane. That Heyman segment was incredible. Talk about long-term storytelling. Bloodline story is untouchable. Really is untouchable, isn't it? Incredible. Imagine saying Braun versus Brock or Brock versus Gunther. Mouth-watering. Absolutely. Or imagine saying Braun versus Brock versus Gunther. And I'm not a triple threat guy at all. Roman Reigns cost Solo WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Interesting. It'd be also interesting to see, like, when the other bloodline returns, and it's obviously going to be the babyface side of the bloodline. I wonder how that's going to feel, how that's going to sit. Be interesting to see, you know. Interesting to see. Interesting to see Roman as a baby face, but within a bloodline situation, you know. Would be very interesting. Brock Lesnar won't be back until court case is finished. I thought some of it they had already sort of sorted out, Acers and stuff like that, and that the feeling was that there wasn't an issue in terms of coming back and stuff like that. But maybe I'm wrong. Keith, I think we will get Roman return with Paul Heyman, but Heyman will come back with a neck brace and comes out and announces Roman return by coming out at SummerSlam. Imagine we got Heyman back with the neck brace and maybe in a wheelchair or something like that and all, real old school mafia style or something like that. And he just gets out of the chair and he gets involved and stuff like that. But I tell you, he took the bum through the table like a champ, didn't he? Like a champ, and he looked the part. I tell you, that was Slammy Award winning levels last week, lads. I don't care what anyone says. Slammy Award winning levels it was, have to say. Okay, let's talk about Ricochet and then we'll get into some history. What are we making on Ricochet, folks? What's the thinking? Shinsuke Nakamura crowd reaction at UFC 303 was absolutely amazing. It was. But interesting. We did say there was going to be a bit of crossover and stuff like that. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing it now with the sponsorships. We're seeing it now with the way the advertising is presented. And we're seeing it now in terms of the usage of the talent and stuff like that. I thought it was cool to see Shinsuke there, but I'm really disappointed in the way Shinsuke's career has kind of gone, especially since he came up onto the main roster. I thought he was phenomenal down in NXT. I was always a huge fan of him in Japan. But it just seems to have tapered out into something that's kind of... And I don't know, maybe it's a case that a lot of those guys that came up at that time, some of them have fallen by the wayside. We've seen what happened with Aleister Black. We just spoke about Ciampa Gargano and all that kind of stuff. Adam Cole exited the building. So I don't know, maybe that's part of it, All-in debut. Oh, imagine. All-in debut for Ricochet. What did we make of this? This is legit then. He's out of here. Illuminati section he was moved to and all that kind of stuff. So it's not storytelling. It's nothing. He's actually out of the building by the sounds of things. Be interesting to see if he does debut it all in and if that happens. And I think there's no reason potentially for it not to happen if this is legit and he's actually gone. There was a lot of talk about he was frustrated creative wise, and we heard Will Ospreay talking about it as well prior to the announcement and prior to the taking of him out and all that kind of stuff. So let's see what happens. We have had in the past talent move to this section, but it was more storyline and then move back in. So let's see, but certainly be interesting to see. Khan is too busy trying to sign McTominay. He's able to balance, so she doesn't need any sleep. That man's like an AI cyborg or something like that. He just moves from sport to sport and doesn't need any sleep at all. What did you think of Fox blacking out some scenes on SmackDown? And I heard WWE getting pissed off. Triple H came out and he had a conversation about it, didn't he? And he said that once we go to Netflix, none of this is going to be happening and we won't have to worry about it. And they thought that maybe this is Fox's way of biting back because the product is moving to Netflix. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it was excessive, to say the least, stuff like that. And I think inside the WWE, I think they felt the same, that it was a bit over the top. But I think until we get to January, this is a lot of what we're going to see now. You know what I mean? You're going to have networks there. Networks there are really hurting at the moment with the online streaming services and stuff like that. The likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, all these things there. You're going to see a dilution of a lot of these networks and stuff like that are going to really, really struggle over the next number of years and stuff like that. So if you do have stocks or shares in any of those, be really, really careful, folks. It's not financial advice, but be careful because you're going to see potentially a downward spiral in those, I think, anyway. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be sad to lose him, but certainly interesting to see if he goes into AEW. And if he does go into AEW, I don't necessarily want him going shot straight to Ospreay, that kind of stuff. We've seen that a million times. Let it work its way around to that eventually and stuff like that. So we shall see. Keep an eye on it. And also, what does it mean for Sammy? We all love Sammy as the announcer and stuff like that. She's quality. at what she does, and her passion is unrivaled and stuff like that. And also, hopefully, we wouldn't lose her over there as well, because of this situation. So, but yeah, absolutely. Right. What else have I? Anything else in there that I have skipped over? I have. We didn't talk about the Judgment Day. Let's have a quick chat about the Judgment Day. Cracks forming in the Judgment Day. What did you make of this the other night? Balor turning around the priest and going, hey, you're the problem. What do we think of that? Acers, that's definitely not coffee in his travel mug. A press conference after pay-per-view should 100% be vodka. It's probably something stronger than vodka. It's probably petrol or diesel, to be honest, because this lad just never stops. What way do we see the Judgment Day, folks? What way do we see this going and stuff like that? I presume it's not going to be a case where the Judgment Day goes away, but you got the Dom and Liv Morgan stuff going on over here. Obviously, Rhea in the background out injured. You've got Damien kind of wanting to row and sail his own boat, not necessarily want the faction to be involved, and he wants to legitimize himself, if you want, as champion without the interference. You've got Balor and JD after picking up the tag belts. So there's a lot going on there at the moment in the Judgment Day. And I was speaking about it the other day, actually talking about wrestling. I was talking about the amount of factions they have in there at the moment. It's like they've gone from one side of the room to the other side of the room when it comes to these things, and how it all kind of fits in and stuff like that. But hopefully the Judgment Day will keep on going. Whether Priest is going to still be a part of that, who knows? You might get, who knows, on a Saturday, or certainly in SummerSlam, you might get that kind of evolution situation, with Priest, where it's kind of down you go, Batista, Orton, Fields do it, Let's see what happens. Ian's going for just split them up. Easter egg is Demon Red Box setting up Damian Priest for Demon SummerSlam. Interesting. I think Liv Morgan cost Damian Priest title at Money in the Bank. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can't be Liv Morgan. Can't be Liv Morgan. Weird. I did like this week the way they did the reversal. And Dom was knocked and he was on top then. That was kind of cool. And the way he paused, he wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere. And rightly so, I have to say. Rightly so. Right, let's take a bit of history, folks, to round it out. I haven't got much for you tonight, history-wise. A few bits there and a few birthdays. Obviously, we spoke about one earlier, but we'll go through it. 1991, Ric Flair is stripped of the WCW Championship. Depending on who was telling the story, Flair either quit or was fired after he refused to take a drastic pay cut and wouldn't sign a new contract. We all know that story, of course. 1999, WWF announced on their website that they had signed Chris Jericho to a multi-year deal, and he would go on to make his debut the next month by interrupting a promo by The Rock. And of course, we know how that all went. Unbelievable. 2007, Umaga defeated Santino Marella to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship on an episode of Monday Night Raw from Dallas. I had to get some Umaga in there with what's going on at the moment, folks, and everything else. Then we got to put a bit of Umaga history in there, don't we? Only rightly so. 2006, on an episode of WWE Monday Night Raw in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Edge outlasted both Rob Van Dam and John Cena in a triple threat, no disqualification match to win the WWE Championship. 1993, Lex Luger arrived by helicopter and landed aboard the USS Intrepid battleship in New York City. The reason? He was answering the challenge set by the 627-pound Yokozuna that no one could body slam him. And one to finish out, which was really one I really liked. It was a storyline that I really liked, and I thought years on we really found it out. And I actually have the figure here somewhere, of course. It was, of course, 2005. Hulk Hogan versus and Shawn Michaels defeated Carlito and Kurt Angle in the main event of WWE Monday Night Raw in Sacramento, I know, of course. And of course, following the match, Michaels hit Hogan with Sweet Chin Music to turn heel. Was it him turning heel? was probably him turning babyface, hitting Hogan with a sweet chin music. To set up what would become the infamous Icon versus Icon match at that year's SummerSlam. And the selling from Michaels in that match is just beyond ridiculous. Go back and watch it. But some of the shows they did, remember they did the Larry King shows, and Michaels was on there as Hogan. He was absolutely top of his game at that stage. Michaels loving his wrestling again and stuff like that and all, and it was absolutely brilliant. But that sweet chin music. That was one. He laid that right into Hogan. I'd say Hogan felt that right in the jaw. Let's take some of your comments. Bo Dallas killing Dom backstage. Imagine. Can't wait for Jacob Fatu debut Money in the Bank. Yeah, he's unbelievable. I see the stuff that guy does. That Shawn Michaels Larry King was absolutely 100, wasn't it? It was just quality. I have the figure here somewhere. It's Shawn Michaels with the handlebar test dressed as Hogan. It's in a WrestleMania 22 box as well, which is kind of cool. What about the Road Warriors World of Sport? What about them? What about them? We got to move on from these guys, Move on. Notable birthdays. 1973, Scotty 2 Hottie. Can't believe he's a year younger than me. There you go. Of course, 1957, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart celebrates his birthday this week. Happy birthday, Bret. Barry Windham, 1960. Absolute stellar. What a wrestler, Barry Windham. Jerry Saggs, 1964. The Nasty Boys. Hillbilly Jim, 1952. And we rounded out with Adam Cole, baby. His birthday this week, 1989. No doubt Britt Baker is spoiling him rotten this week. They are your notable birthdays. That is your history for this week. And as always, that brings an end to the show. Folks, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you're acknowledging Solo as your tribal chief. This stage, I think we've no choice. Money in the Bank coming at you this weekend. NXT Heatwave right after it as well on the Sunday. We will be back next Wednesday with Pro Wrestling Weekly. We'll do a full review of Money in the Bank. Let's see what our predictions were like on the show and stuff like that. I'm sure you'll be watching with bated breath. I will talk to you again real soon. As always, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. Really appreciate all you guys in the chat. Big up to Russ, who couldn't make it tonight. He's been fantastic on the show. And Darren, who couldn't make it, obviously, either. We will be back next week, see if the boys can make it on and stuff like that. Let's see what happens. Joe Henry's Heatwave segment, yeah, absolutely. Going to be absolutely unbelievable. So until next time, folks, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy, of course, Money in the Bank. Enjoy the Euros. I will be back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock with Darren. We'll be going through a full preview of the quarterfinals of the Euro 2024. We'll reflect back on the round of 16 as well. We'll, of course, bring you a few bets as always. And we'll be talking about the latest football news, including Man United. 250 staff members go today. Let us know your thoughts tomorrow night. Do not miss that show. Until next time, folks, a pleasure as always. Great show, folks, as we now are over and out. We certainly are. And Niall, are you on with Dazzler tomorrow? I certainly am, Daz. 9 o'clock on your screens every Thursday. Thursday Tier Talk, but this is the Euros in the summer. Going to have a lot of fun. Folks, enjoy your evening. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.